Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Reasonably Effective Podcast. I'm 10 Types, as always, joined by Uncommon Fossil.
Hello. I'm supposed to jump in there. I was just thinking through our intense debate today because Pokemon, they just had the Japan's Championship League tournament, which I guess is concluded. I'm not even sure. But during, I think, the last day of that, they made the announcement of two new sets, Mega Brave and Mega Symphonia. Those are although that's the English translation, but we actually don't get those sets. They're only released in Japanese, right? In Japan, right? But
Yeah, I
so
imagine these two will become one set, but maybe not because Black Bolt and White Flare are two separate sets, which are coming out before this. They're already out in Japan, and they are also coming out first here. So these sets are of the Mega Block, which is
yeah,
a new block. It's not the Scarlet and Violet era.
right. And the funny thing is, I just want to mention this briefly. It's coming out August 1st in Japan. That's the date. But so they'll be in Japan before Worlds, which of course is the premier event for the competitive Pokemon scene. But they're not going to be released internationally before that, I don't believe. So they're not at Worlds, but the latest and greatest Pokemon, the new shiny toy that they should be wanting to show off, you can't play at Worlds. It's just a weird dynamic to me. I find it odd that they would time things that way, but that's what Pokemon is doing here.
Yep, they do weird stuff, as we were actually talking about before the podcast. But yeah, there are a few things to one. Rare Candy is getting reprinted. That is cool. Not surprising, but it is getting reprinted, so that's worth a mention
Well,
here.
hang on, and when you say reprinted with a new regulation mark, it's not
Oh
just
yeah,
because there's Night Stretchers also getting quote reprinted with a new art, but that's not getting a new. It's still staying. That one's still the H block, but the Rare Candy will be I block, so we'll get that for another year at least.
yeah. I think it's two. But yeah,
Well,
so
yeah.
Rare Candy coming back, whatever. But the Mega Evolutions, I'm gonna quickly talk about what they are. They are so we have Mega Venusaur EX. That's a new Mega revealed. And of course we also have Venusaur EX in Standard. If you don't know, we have that. And so Venusaur EX, the regular one is a stage 2. And it's an EX, so it gives up 2 prizes. Mega Venusaur EX is also an EX. It is a Mega Evolution EX. And so it gives up 3 prizes. Megas give up 3 prizes, but they're the regular stage of the Pokemon. So Mega Venusaur EX is a stage 2, and it doesn't have the same name as Venusaur EX. You could play like 2 Mega Venusaur EXs and 3 Venusaur EXs if you wanted to, though that's kind of bad. I can't imagine that'll come up too often, but maybe it will. And then yeah, that's about it for the megas. They're nothing super crazy
Well,
mechanically. They have, of course, higher stats because they are 3 prize Pokemon. And we see the highest HP ever actually to this point with Mega Venusaur EX with 380 HP. I do think we are going to have a Pokemon with over 400 HP, which is kind of fun. Yeah, so the HPs are they are higher.
yeah, I don't know if a 400 HP Pokemon's fun or not. I'm hoping that doesn't happen, and we'll later on, I think eventually we'll get to a little more discussion of the Megas, and I think it won't happen, but I could be wrong too. Um, so the megas are essentially they're an additional evolution tier, but rather than making it a fourth or a stage 3 Pokemon, which wouldn't really work, I would say they kind of made it a stage 2, just like the regular EX, but it gives up an extra prize. So that's kind of the trade-off with higher HP, better attacks. This has a very good ability as we get into it. So and that's probably the best thing, right? Well, it's got an attack. The whole line is let me just look at it. Oh, well, the basic's actually going to be important too to mention briefly. But so the retreat cost of all these Pokemon is high. It's 2 retreat costs for the basic, 3 for the stage 1, 4 for the stage 2. And the Mega is a stage 2. It says stage 2 on it. So that's important to note as well. But it's got an attack, 4 grass energy, does 240 damage, heals 30 from itself. That's not great, but it is very tanky, so maybe that'll be viable, or at least a try. There is a supporter that works with this, as well as another Pokemon in format that will work with a super tanky Pokemon. Because of its ability, Solar Trans is this translation here, don't know if that's accurate, but as many times as you like during your turn, you may move a basic grass energy from one of your Pokemon to another of your Pokemon. It's not restricted to grass-type Pokemon, so it is, I think, potentially versatile in that sense. You could use it in decks, in box set decks too. Blissey EX is good. It moves 1 basic energy. That's any type. This is just grass, but this is unlimited grass movement. So I think that's pretty intriguing there.
Yeah, it's okay. I honestly like Blissey X's ability is cool, but it's not like super strong. This kind of reminds me of, I mean, it's like the same as stuff like Bronzong or um I don't know,
Yeah.
something else like Bronzong, or Aromatisse or something. And actually, it's worse now looking at it 'cause it's only basic energy. It's kind of like Armor's. Limiting it to basics is whatever. It means you can't move Prism energy or Luminous energy, but whatever. And then ultimately, like it feels kind of weak on stage two. I mean, yes, you have a lot of HP, and I guess I will read out this border that you mentioned.
Okay.
I looked at these cards and I actually didn't even realize that the support was meant to be played with it, but it's Wally's Compassion, which is supported. This says heal all damage from one of your Mega Evolution Pokemon EX, and if you do, put all energy attached to that Pokemon back into your hand, which is kind of interesting. It's kind of like supporters like Cheryl, um, kind of like AZ or Professor scenario where you essentially heal it up and move the energy, and also Max Potion as well. There's some different ones like it, and this is cool because it bounces it back to your hand. But of course, the idea is you can move the energy off of it and then heal it up, and then you can move the energy back on and not lose the energy, which is pretty cool.
Right. I mean, the Wally's Compassion is a little better than Cheryl, I think, as you mentioned, because that goes to hand, which is usually better than getting discarded. Anyway, but obviously with the Mega Venusaur, you move the energy off and then you attack with the Mega Venusaur again. Or, of course, assuming there are other Mega Pokemon, you may have a different Mega Pokemon to attack with as well. And if you get this stage two set up, you can do some nice healing multiple turns with it. So, and look, I'll say it at this point. I'll keep it brief here. That like this Wally supporter says Mega Evolution Pokemon EX, but we're gonna get to a basic Pokemon that's a Mega. It's just a little weird to me, but it's. I assume the basic is still a Mega Evolution, right? When we get to it, if you have a basic
Yeah, yeah. I
Mega.
do see why it's kind of weird. I was giving you some flack for it before, but before we started. But yeah, I mean, it's a little weird. Pokemon like name stuff weirdly a lot, and this is certainly not the weirdest thing they've done. I mean, these are Mega EXs, which are different than the other Mega EXs with different capitalization, and they're like completely different. But yeah, this is kind of cool. I think it's cool. Also, I will say this is the Pokemon with the highest HP
Yeah.
that we're gonna look at. A bunch of them, I mean, they're all higher than normal Pokemon of their stage.
Mm-hmm.
But Mega Venusaur EX has 380, the highest so far. We're gonna probably talk about Megas some later on in the episode. We'll see how much we talk about them, but
Yeah.
and their design. But I think that having high HP is cool because one, obviously, it's like good for the card, and that means that also it is counterbalanced by the higher retreat, which I will mention that there is that a tool card, a heavy baton, which is good for this. But
Right.
ultimately this Pokemon is like tanky. I feel like you like tanky Pokemon. I also kind of like
Yeah.
tanky Pokemon, but I feel like you like them a little more. And right now in standard, there are a lot of decks aiming. There are some decks aiming to two shot, but there are decks aiming to one shot as well. And it's really hard to one shot something like this with like Goldengo EX or Raging Bolt EX. That's a lot of energy you're having to discard. It's going to be pretty difficult, which I think is kind of cool. And then yeah, these are tanky Pokemon that can like take hits from Pokemon designed to one shot, which is kind of fun. Also, I will mention is grass type, so it is hidden weakness on like Charizard EX and Mario Grimmsnarl EX and Cynthia's Garchomp EX and stuff like that, which I think is good. We'll see what the meta is going to look like in this is quite a ways into the future, but this is a nice typing to have, I think.
Yeah, no, grass type's pretty good as long as there's not strong fire Pokemon, which isn't the big concern now, and I don't know that it will be at that time either. And you have the tool, the A spec tool that adds 100 HP. If you played that, now you're at 40 HP, and then you say, and at that point, almost no deck, if you're not taking weakness account, can one shot it. No deck's really reaching to 480. Very few could do that, right? So you're outside of one shot Terratad is something that just has an effect that knocks you out of the game. So that it's appealing. I do think with the supporter card. The other card to mention in this is we have Dockspun EX in format now. It doesn't really see play. I don't know if the guy played it. I don't know if you have either, but it's a stage one EX. When you play it from your hand to evolve on your turn, then you can heal. You may heal all damage from each of your evolution Pokemon, and you discard, if any Pokemon's healed, you discard all the energy from it. So that's another way to heal up your cards. Pokemon actually that heals up multiple Pokemon, doesn't use up your supporter for turn. So that could go in the deck as well as the new supporter with the healing, which I said could be the Mega Venusaur or something else. I also do want to make mention of the basic Pokemon. It is the Bulbasaur. It does 10 damage, but then during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat, and that does have value, right? It first off, um, sometimes you just use that anyway for the stall aspect because that's the best thing you have. But also here, if you play Relicanth in the deck, now we have a 380 HP Pokemon that in with the tool 480, not getting one shot, we can get something stuck. Now we can put our opponent in a real bind there potentially with Relicanth and the ability, the attack they put on the basic Pokemon here.
Yeah. Also, I will mention Venusaur EX here. Wait, there's a single price Venusaur. What's that do?
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, that's not standard. Okay, so there's a Venusaur EX, which also has a healing ability and like an attack that's okay. I mean, they're not great, but they are okay, I guess. You probably would play it in this deck. And so that's something to consider. This card, I don't think it's super strong though. I don't expect it to be like super good in the meta. I mean, it's expensive and it's a stage 2. And I will say that the megas in general, in my opinion, don't look super strong. We've seen, was it like 4? Yeah, we've seen 4 megas so far. We saw 2 revealed at the World Championships
Yeah.
last year, and then we've seen 2 more revealed today or yesterday or the day before or whatever.
First, I think.
And
Go ahead.
oh yeah, that's about it. I think they're not like super strong.
Okay, I'm gonna. I think 2 of them are pretty strong. One of them is one we already knew, which would have to be guard. And one of them is a new one. Honestly, I think are pretty good. But the other thing to note is this Venusaur Mega has 40 more HP than the non Mega EX, which is important to note. We'll see the higher the HP of the Pokemon is, generally speaking, the less they're bumping it up with the Mega. So I think that's a good thing. I'll probably discuss that more a little later. So that's partly why I don't think we're gonna get to 400 HP because it seems like the higher the HP, the less they're adding HP to the Pokemon.
Yeah, okay. Then we have another card up next, which is Ninetales. This card's kind of cool. I imagine you won't have that much to say about it. It's not like super good, but it has the attack here for 1 color, suspicious shape shifting. I cannot speak. Then you discard the top card of your deck, and if it's a supporter, then you use it as the effect of this attack. And this is kind of interesting. Obviously, it's not super strong. Like using supporters as the effect of your attack, it generally isn't that good. They can do certain things and can set you up, but this is a stage 1. And then also they can be using like control for like gusting or like different control effects, which is kind of cool. Ultimately, this card could be played in control. It's kind of awkward to set up. I mean, it's like Slowking, which is kind of awkward to set up. It's not as bad because it's less energy. I guess, but you can't search out these supporters as easily as Pokemon. So ultimately, it's not like super good. It's kind of like the Mimikyu from I think it's Cosmic Eclipse. Yeah, Cosmic Eclipse, which is a card that has been played in control. And it's a decent control card, not amazing, but it's okay. This is a stage 1 though, so that's worse. But this is like a kind of cool card. It's not super good, but it is worth a mention, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be a control card to the extent it sees use. I don't think there's a supporter for an attacking deck that you're really going to want, nor setting up. I don't think you don't want to. I don't think it's going to have that in an attacking deck a role. And there is the tool card. If you're behind on prizes, you can attack for 1 less energy. I believe, right?
Yeah.
So if you play that tool, then you could even attack with an energy if you were playing a control no energy deck. For instance, let's say, because that frees up space for other things. So maybe it'll see a little bit of use, probably not a lot.
Yeah. Then we have another line here, which has an Inteleon, and it has 2 attacks, Water Shot for 1 water. They're both 1 water. This does 110. It discards an energy from this Pokemon, which is whatever. It's okay. Then you have a first attack here, Bring Down, which is again 1 water, and the Pokemon with in play with the least HP remaining, except for this Pokemon, is knocked out. And if there are multiple, you choose 1. This attack is the same as we saw on Greninja from let me find it, from Unbroken Bonds. I don't think this card saw any play, but kind of a fun attack, kind of silly. Honestly, I think of Expanded when I see this because Inteleon is, I don't know actually how good it is in Expanded, but it's certainly all right, I guess. And Expanded is kind of a mess, but the Inteleon engine is pretty solid. So yeah, this is kind of cool, but not
Yeah,
strong, I don't think.
yeah. I mean, look, if for expanded, where if you're a real new player, you don't know, there's the Drizzile with the Shady Dealings ability. When you put it in play, you search your deck for any one trainer card, and there's an Inteleon that when you evolve into that, you search your deck for any 2 trainers. Super great cards there. And then you also have the Inteleon that can ping to put 2 damage counters every turn. So, if you're playing a deck with Inteleons and expanded, I think this is where it probably will see some play there. You definitely have to think about putting it in. And if you're playing the Inteleon, look, 110 for 1 energy is not a bad attack either, right? You discard the energy, but that's not a big deal. The first attack's interesting, though, right? You knock out the Pokemon with the least HP in the game, except for itself, which includes your own Pokemon, right? So you can knock out your own Pokemon. So you have to watch out for that. And if assuming your opponent plays like, if you obviously you're gonna have to watch out if your opponent could play this, then you might just want to slap down some low HP basic just to make sure your multi-prize EX doesn't get knocked out, right? Because you don't want to have a Squawkabilly EX getting knocked out with this attack or something like that. So, but I can't really see it in standard unless there's a bunch of cards coming that we don't know anything about.
Yeah, and I don't know what those cards would be to actually help it either. Again, I didn't actually think of Squawkabilly's HP is pretty low, but I mean, most decks playing it probably have something lower that they probably have on the board anyways, right? So you're probably knocking out some random previous evolution that your opponent doesn't care that much about and only taking 1 prize for the commitment level of setting up your stage 2. So I think it's kind of bad. It's kind of fun, but it's kind of bad.
Yeah, I think if you're playing expanded, you're playing the Inteleon engine, I think you got to consider putting one copy of this in your deck. That's where it's at. But
yeah, if you're playing the water energy to attack.
That's true. You have to have water energy. And the Inteleon's attacks, even the ones that expand, aren't bad. So I think you might have access to that. But yes, that's a good point. Although I got to say, I think the Inteleon's better than the Pachirisu. Not in standard format, but I think at least an expanded Inteleon has things. I don't love the Pachirisu. Maybe you'll tell me I'm wrong. But a basic Pokemon, 70 HP, and it has an L1 energy attack here on it, 1 lightning. It does 10 damage, which isn't good. But then the text says during your opponent's next turn, whenever your opponent attaches an energy card from their hand to the defending Pokemon, put 8 damage counters on that Pokemon. So if your opponent's playing Chenbao at max caliber, you hit into the Chien-Pao, they need to accelerate energies. They can accelerate enough energies onto the backs using the back's caliber to knock themselves out. If they do that for you, it's good. But if your opponent evolves, switches, I don't really think this is doing much.
Yeah, no, it's kind of bad, unfortunately. I'm trying to think. I mean, like if they're not evolving or switching, which they're not doing all the time, and forcing them to do that is like kind of good, I guess. Then it gets some damage, but it's not even like that much damage. It's 90. You do the 10 plus the 8, or the 8 damage counters, the 80 damage, which isn't like that much damage. I mean, if it just did 90, it would be pretty good, but it doesn't.
Right. Most of the time, you're just doing the 10, and they're going to avoid the other damage. Even if they put the extra 8, they're not probably going to be knocked out most of the time. So, you're softening up, say, a multi-prize Pokemon, but you can't. If you're taking 2 shots to take out each of your opponent's multi-prize Pokemon, you're going to lose the game almost all the time anyway. So I don't think this one has a lot of value. But look, there's a lot of decent cards here. I think this might just be the worst of the cards. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's some pretty bad previous evolutions, but we have some previous evolutions coming up next, which you said are very good. Before recording.
All right, very good is a bit of an exaggeration, but look, first I will talk about Mega Gardevoir EX because we talked about this before because this was announced previously. We know Gardevoir EX is good. We knew it was good pre-rotation. It just won NEIC, so it's still good. And so Mega Gardevoir EX has 360 HP. That's 50 more HP than the current Gardevoir EX, which happens to have a very good ability, right? I think everyone agrees about that. But this one has 2 attacks. The first attack, Overflowing Wishes. For each of your bench Pokemon, search your deck for a basic Psychic Energy, put it on to that Pokemon. That's not bad because you can accelerate 5 energy, although I know you're going to say setup attacks like this aren't good, and I 100% agree about that. Hopefully you're not getting...
The words right out of my mouth. This is a 3 prize stage 2. And this is like its HP is like kind of high, but it's not like people can knock it out, and it might get knocked out.
Yeah, but the point is it's really there for the second attack. If you're playing it, it does 50 for one psychic energy per psychic energy attached to all your Pokemon. So it's in a regular Gardevoir EX deck where you're getting these energies attached. I think I'm playing one Mega Gardevoir EX in the deck. I think it will make the deck better because now that Gardevoir EX, which sometimes I like to attack with enemy just because first off the damage number is sometimes what you need, but also you can't necessarily get one shot. All your single prize Pokemon are obviously easy one shot targets late in the game. It's like my opponent's down to one prize. I gotta keep them from knocking me out. So I think I might like this. Plus, this can do big damage, right? With Gardevoir EX, so I do like it. So I think it's playable. And then there's a Ralts here. What has a one energy attack. One close energy draws a card. It's not great, but again, Gardevoir is good now, so I think this we'll see. And it's 70 HP, so I think this may see some play in there. And the Curlia, obviously, we lost the good Curlia with the engine, but the new Curlia's got an attack for one psychic energy. Search your deck for 3 Pokemon, put them into your hand. That's probably an upgrade there as well, I would think. So taking a very good deck, and I think these cards are making one of the top decks a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Mega Guard 4 EX is okay. I definitely think you could put a copy in your deck. It's attacking. I think the thing you're looking at is the really strong second attack, which can do more damage than you can do normally, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not doing that much more damage, but it's doing a bit more. And also, yeah, you are softening it up potentially with the energy acceleration. You can obviously accelerate to other places, but it's still a little annoying. But yeah, it's like solid. I don't think it's amazing, but I think it's fine. And yeah, I agree with the previous evolutions. And then there is the new stadium. You want to
Yeah.
talk about that one, or
Yeah,
should I talk about it?
I'll do that. Before you do that, yeah, you made a good point though about when you attack with guard like a Gardevoir EX, you have to exploit the energies to yourself, so you weaken yourself. Here, it's only one energy to attach, so you can power this one up manually, exploit your energies to your bench Pokemon, so you can hopefully you're hoping to have a full 360 HP attacking Pokemon when you end your turn. So that's not bad. But then there is a stadium, which is actually the even better card, really the better improvement for the Gardevoir EX deck called Mystery Garden. Once during each player's turn, they can discard an energy from their hand. And if they do, that player draws until they have as many cards in hand as they have psychic Pokemon in play. So anyone can discard energies, I think, of any type. But which, and of course, Gardevoir wants the energies, but you only draw for psychic Pokemon in play. So this is pretty good, right? So potentially you're drawing to you have 6 cards in hand. You've discarded one with the energy. So in a lot of ways, this is as good as a Curlia with its ability, probably, right? I kind of because
Like a bunch. Yeah, at least like maybe multiple Curlias. When I saw this card, I thought of UV Max's Intersect V. Obviously, you're not like drawing that many cards. You're not drawing like 20 cards, but yeah, I could draw you quite a few cards. And it's decently consistent. I mean, it's not insanely consistent, but also just like a stadium, right? So it's a pretty
right.
strong stadium.
Yeah, and we have supporters to get stadiums. So and there's some stadiums in the
Like
game.
what? Colorless Tenacity.
Yeah, that might be it. Oh, and I've been playing a Secret Box, so everyone should be
Oh
playing
yeah.
4 Secret
Oh,
Box in their
there's
deck.
Petrol. Team Marcus Petrol. That's kind of good.
Oh yeah. So we have 2 support. We doubled the number of supporters with the latest set. So in the game.
Yeah,
So
there might be some others. I don't know.
but yeah, so you can get support stadiums, and there are some good stadiums. There's some stadiums you like to bump as well, right? Depending on what your opponent's playing. So having a supporter or two, I mean, stadium or two in your deck, I like it to bump your opponent's stadium as well as giving you something to go with. So it's a nice little draw engine for a psychic deck, even if there's like other non Gardevoir decks. Although Gardevoir is the psychic deck right now that's by far the strongest, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, the stadium, yeah, definitely a big bump. And I think it is like it's just a really strong stadium because we don't have that many strong stadiums in standard. This one is really good. So yeah, I think, yeah, I don't think it's like making Gardevoir broken, but I think it's quite good.
No, I think what's going to happen when I first did it, I thought it was like, are we going to have the this we're only going to have the 2 Gardevoirs together for a little bit of time, right? Which is probably a good thing because I think Gardevoir is one of the top decks. I think with the new Gardevoir EX, and I do think the Ralts and the Curly, all those things make it a little better in this stadium. So I think this might be the best deck in format, but I don't think it's going to be overly. I don't think it's going to be oppressive, but I do think this might be the strongest deck for a period of time before rotation hits.
Yeah, and like potentially clearly the strongest deck.
Yeah.
But then we have some other Pokemon that are kind of cool here as well. We have a Hariyama. This is a stage 1 fighting Pokemon. Its attack is 210 for 3 fighting, which is not bad, doing 70 to itself, but you can use it, I guess, for a reversal. And then you have your ability here, Sumo Catcher, which is when during your turn, you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon. You may switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active Pokemon. This is the same ability that we see on Hop's Double, which isn't that good, but it's okay. This is it's like a good ability. This Pokemon, if you're attacking with it, the ability is a really good upside as well. I think if you're not attacking with it, I think it's just not really good enough, unfortunately. But it's not a bad card. I mean, it's a solid card in general. I don't have too much to say about it, but it's decent. Oh, I guess I'll also mention the item card here, Premium Power Pro, one of the 3 cards revealed at the World Championship. So it's in English here, and it says during this turn, attacks used by your fighting Pokemon do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon before weakness and resistance, which is good. It's not like insane for this. I mean, it's kind of good if you're attacking with it, but we'll talk about it a little more in a second.
Right. I mean, yeah, that item is better for the next Pokemon. I also the next Pokemon we're going to talk about actually is important if you want to attack with this too, because
Oh, what's it do? Oh, it like accelerates energy,
yeah,
doesn't
the
it?
first
Yeah.
attack on it would power this up potentially. So I think if you're playing that, you may look. Obviously, Gusting's really good. So now you don't have to use Boss for turn. You can switch with this and still use another supporter to set up. I like that. 210, you're knocking out a basic EX, right? Which I like that a lot, and we can scale it with the item multiple times if we even want to. But being able to one shot a 2 prize Pokemon with a 1 single prize is always a good thing. The ability and Gusting may get bigger in the game when these megas come out, and that's its own question because now the prize mapping changes, right? Because one of the things back, which wasn't that long ago, when we had the V Maxes in play, you wanted to force your opponent to take 8 prizes, right? So you're gonna need to have, and if you don't want to have to do that when you're playing against someone, so you're going to want to have late game Gusting. But late game, maybe your counter catchers don't work anymore. Maybe you've had to use your prime catcher. Did you play your bosses already? So having an additional Gusting thing late game may actually become more important with 3 prize Pokemon in the game. I'm not sure, but that's just an idea in my head.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. As you said, for the prize mapping thing. Oh, the basic does have 80 HP, which is like kind of bad for Buddy Poffin. I believe the Hops Double does have, or the Wooloo, how do I spell these Pokemon? Has that has 70 and one retreat, so that's like better for universal stuff. But if you are using the Mega Lucario X, which we'll talk about right now,
Yeah.
that could be good. And the basic can do 30 for 1, which actually isn't that bad. When you like theoretically, you can just use Premium Power Pro a bunch to like get a knockout. But regardless, you have Mega Lucario EX here, which is a Stage 1 Mega Pokemon EX, the only one we've seen so far, and it has 2 attacks. The first one is Aura Jab, which does 130 for 1 fighting, and you attach up to 3 basic fighting energies from your discard pile to your bench Pokemon any way you like. And then you have your second attack here, which is Mega Brave for 2 fighting, which does 270, but it cannot be used back to back. And these are solid attacks. I don't think they're amazing, but I think they're decent. And with Premium Power Pro, then, and I do want to talk about Premium Power Pro after I talk about Mega Lucario some as well separately. But I think that it's decently strong. It's not insane, but I think it's pretty fair.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty fair. The pre-evolutions aren't good attacks. I mean, there's only one pre-evolution. It's not a good attack, so that's unfortunate too.
Oh, sorry. There is also another. Apparently, there's 2 Lucario. Wait, no. There's 3 Lucario EX in standard. Why? Okay. Well,
Wow.
none of
Okay.
them are any good. But anyways, so there was a single prize Lucario, which is decent. It actually does 150 for 1 fighting if any of your fighting Pokemon were knocked out last turn, which is pretty strong. It's playing GLC. It's not insane, but it's decent. Um,
Yeah. No, I
I can't
assume.
believe there's
Go ahead.
there's there's 3 Lucario EX in standard. Like, why do these exist? But
Okay. Yeah, I don't even know
the
what they are.
one's okay.
Okay, I don't even. I'm not sure what they are, but yeah, you play the single prize Lucario with it. Well, look. So there's 2 things. First, doing 270 is okay. Well, without the item card that boosts you by 30, 270 is bad, right? Because you feel like you really want to hit 280.
I don't know. I feel like 280 used to be really good, but 280 like now isn't really hitting any numbers that you're looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hitting Pidgeot, but it's not actually hitting Pidgeot yet because you hit it for resistance. Then you look at stuff like Ceruledge and Arcal, like the stage 1 EXs, right? Ceruledge, Arcalodon, Goldengo, and none of those actually have 280.
Yeah. Now this is a high HP, right? At I know it's you didn't bring up the HP at 340 is a big deal, but this is really high for a stage one, right? This got a big boost. This got an 80 HP boost from the regular EX. So that's a
Mhm.
really big jump there. Like I said, I think the lower HP Pokemon are getting the bigger boost than the higher HP ones. So, but 340 on a stage one is a big number. I think if it's going to be good, it's that first attack. And you hate setup attacks, but this one now is doing 130 damage or more with the item, so that's not a bad number. You're taking a prize with it. I was going to say you're taking prizes, but that's not true. You're taking a prize, which is putting some pressure on. You're accelerating 3 energies, and of course, it's only 1 energy attack, so we could heal with the supporter, right? Because that would heal it off. We lose the energy, but we don't even need to worry about moving the energy around. We attach it. So can we be tanky enough at 340, doing 130, accelerating some energy, setting up some other Pokemon? Maybe you can do something with that to make it going. I think the first attack is probably gonna, if it's viable, it's the first attack is probably the one you got to lean into the most.
Yeah, I think there's value in both attacks, though. I think it's an interesting card. I don't think there's too much more that you have to say about this, though, right?
No, it's a fair Pokemon. It's probably not going to be a great Pokemon, which I
Yeah.
design
Oh,
wise I like to see.
yeah. Oh, there's a card. Did we talk about Mega Signal? I'll actually mention that now, which I guess is meaningful. It lets you search your deck for one Mega Evolution Pokemon EX, reveal it, put into your hand. I think you
Right.
mentioned it, but
No, I
I will
don't think
mention.
we
I don't think
did.
there's too much to break down with it,
Well,
but it is like here.
it's a really
If
good
there's good,
card, I think.
it is.
I think this is a strong. You said there's a one crazy strong card. I know it's not this one. I think it's like the one of the few cards you have. Well, we haven't. It's the one we haven't gotten to yet. But no, this is if you're playing Mega Pokemon in your deck, right? That's obviously the caveat. If you are, you search your deck for any one Mega Evolution Pokemon. So that's really good, right?
I feel like usually you're just gonna have like one Mega Evolution though, or like maybe two or three copies. I feel like it's more like a power level of something like Terra Orb, or even like Featherball pre-rotation, which are like kind of like Terra Orb's okay. It's not a bad card or anything, but it's certainly not a super strong card. Like it's not broken or anything. It's fine. Sees play. It's kind of good. Good in apparently it's supposed to play in Flareon. It's played some in like I think it's alright in Terra Box. It's alright in Dragapult. It has value there. But I think it's like a one or two of. Ultimately, it's really good if there's a strong. If you have like a bunch of different megas in your deck,
Right.
like if there's a mega with a strong ability that's really good, like a setup support Pokemon, like a basic, like if there's like Pheasantifty EX, but that's like a mega or like Squawkabilly or something, then this would be kind of crazy. I don't know if it'd even be crazy. You need to be
Well,
playing that and I feel like you want three different megas to get good value out of this, but
yeah.
yeah.
Well, look, if it's a basic mega, then of course you're just going to play Nest Ball. You don't need this. But assuming it's an evolution mega, which is most of them are going to be, you don't necessarily want to have to play Ultra Ball and just card two cards all the time, right? So I like this. But yeah, it's for box decks. I think I don't know how many megas we're going to get. I assume we'll get a good number. And we don't know what the new Pokemon in the video game is going to be, right? So we'll see some new Mega Pokemon from that too. I assume that'll be some big reveal at some point down the road. But like the Mega Venusaur, you have it can move these energies around, grass energies, of course, but and you can heal. So maybe we have some box deck with the Mega Venusaur with some other megas. That's what I'm looking forward to. Maybe something like that. I think it's a good card if you're playing megas. You're probably gonna. I think most mega decks are gonna play a copy or two.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that sounds fair. I wouldn't say that's some crazy card, but regardless, this is a card that is like cool for megas, I guess.
Yeah,
Theoretically really good, or maybe just kind of mediocre. But
it's a good card, right? It'll see more play than most of the cards we've talked about so far, probably.
probably. But regardless, then I do want to talk more about Premium Power Pro, increase in damage, as I said, by fighting Pokemon, and of course, it increases damage of Mega Lucario EX, but also it does
Yeah.
some other ones. And notably, I think I've been talking about this actually a little while now, and I think Cynthia's Garchomp EX is gonna be really good. I think it's one of the best decks in the game right now. I think it's in that top tier of decks, because it has like a solid like built-in like pseudo engine. You can draw with your first attack, and you can search out your Pokemon with the Cynthia's could bite, and
Hmm.
it's just a really solid deck in my opinion. You do good damage, have good HP, and now you're doing even more damage with Premium Power Pro, pushing it to like a Pokemon that's able to do like really huge damage, which I think is really cool. So I do like Premium Power Pro a lot for that. I don't think it's amazing with other cards. I mean, I think Corsomas Ogre Pontiacs is still like a pretty good card, but a lot of good Pokemon also don't have abilities. Um, but yeah, it's kind of I think it's very strong. I think it's one of the stronger cards that's been revealed. We've seen cards like this. We saw Electro Power, which is most similar to this. We also saw Power Tablet, which is similar, but Electro Power is more similar, just doing more damage with Lightning Pokemon, and that card was really good. It wasn't like absurdly broken, but it was very strong. And this card I think is also very strong. I think fighting is just kind of whatever right now. I mean, Cynthia's
Yeah.
Garchomp PX, as I said, I do think is good, but I don't think this is. I think it's very good for Cynthia's Garchomp PX. But if we see some absolutely, I don't know, if we see this could be really good, is what I'm saying, or it could just be, it could be kind of broken, or it could just be pretty strong.
Yeah, look,
I think.
it's a really good card for sure. As you said, though, there's not a lot of good fighting Pokemon out there now, so that's the limiting factor of how good it is in that sense, right? How effective it is, what cards it has to work with, and I guess obviously for expanded, I know that's not what we talk about generally, but we're aware of it, and obviously that's going to be it's got to do you have a lot more Pokemon there, so yeah, I can with my Sandaconda VMAX spread deck, I can do 60 damage now to the active Pokemon. So I'm all in on that, I think, right? I believe it did 30
Wow.
to the active and spreads it around. So no, but and expanded, there's things you can do with it too as well. So this type it's a good type of card. I don't know how strong it's going to be because the Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
And
Okay, then I'll talk about the Mega Latias, I think.
yeah, which I think is a really strong card. I think we'll disagree on this one some too. Go ahead.
Oh no, I also think it's very good.
Okay.
And so first of all, it's a mega. It's a basic, the first basic mega Pokemon we're looking at here,
Yep.
or that we've seen revealed. This is the last mega we're talking about, and it has the attack straight for one colorless 40 and switch to the bench. I think that's kind of bad. It's not like horrible, but it's not super strong. I imagine you
Well,
kind of agree. Like, I mean, it's okay.
the first attack, well,
Yeah,
the wall decks are a thing, right? And now you do
but the
40
walls do more damage than this.
potentially.
So, like all of
Um,
the walls do more damage than this. I think. I don't know what
well,
wall you'd be playing against
I
though.
think yeah, it's also the second attack's a little weird as you get into it. So perhaps sometimes because the way the second attack works, you're going to have to run to the bench and get energies on afterwards. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, it's not a terrible attack. It definitely adds a little bit of utility there, but it's not
Yeah.
amazing. Also, it has like a one retreat cost anyway, so you could just retreat it then. Also, there is Latias EX, which skips a free retreat.
Right.
Anyways, Mega Latias EX though. Oh wait, how much? Uh, how much HP does Latias EX have? It's 210. So this is a big bump as well. Getting an
Yeah.
extra 70 HP. So I guess you are right with what you said earlier. We've only seen 4 cards, but yeah, it's pretty substantial actually.
Yeah, but hang on.
Regardless,
So, but in terms of the HP though, we already have a 280 HP basic EX in the game, right? So
yes.
while this is a lot, it's not more than what we have. So just to put right with that's the Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX, right? Is 280.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
okay.
we also have speaking of the the HPs, Mega Lucario EX has 340 and Palafin EX also has 340. So I'll mention that.
Yep.
But the
Yep.
H2s are higher than any we've seen. Regardless, Mega Latias EX has a bunch of HP. It also is Dragon type, so it has no weakness, which is quite good.
Yep.
Then it has the attack Mirage Pulse for Fire Psychic Colorless, and it does 300, and then discards all energy from this Pokemon. And we do need to also talk about the Latios with this, which only works with Mega Latias EX, which says its ability Luster Assist. Once during your turn, when your Mega Latias EX moves from the bench to the active spot, you may move any number of energy from your bench Pokemon to that active Pokemon. It also can do 130 for Water Psychic Colorless, which is okay, I guess, but it's not amazing.
No.
But yeah, you have this really solid ability, I think.
Right. This ability, you're attacking. 300 damage is a nice number on this Mega Latias. Right. You on a basic doing 300. That's good. You lose your energy. It's awkward to power up with fire, psychic, colorless. So I got to power up again. 280 on a bait. You're not always going to be one shot, so that's good, right? You're going to survive some hits. Now you can't you're not going to do an attack, do 300 damage, and then strafe the following turn, probably, right? I don't think. Maybe you can. I guess maybe you could. you could attack for 300. You don't get one shot. Then you strafe to the bench, right? So now I'm on the bench with like 80 damage. And then the following turn, I get myself powered up with Crispin fully, and I swing into it with Latios, right, or something. So, or just
Yeah, but
switch
you
in
are
the
gonna be
active.
like a big target for your opponent to like gust and knock out because you are a three prizer. Being a three
Yeah,
prizer is like pretty bad. Which we haven't really talked about that much, but like giving up three prizes is a pretty substantial downside.
it is. And I mentioned to you before, and I think you might agree. I think it does have value though, with the Charizard Dragapult deck, right? Because that's what it's using psychic energy, fire energy. It's already a good deck, a Charizard Dragapult. The Charizard accelerates energy to it, so you can if especially early game, right? This will do you the most damage by far early game with Charizard Dragapult. If you can evolve into Charizard EX on turn two, which you want to do anyway, you're accelerating two fire energy to it, attaching a psychic from hand, and you have an extra fire energy to attach somewhere, either to the Charizard or to your Dragapult. So and you're doing 300 damage, you might get one shot, but if you're playing the Charizard Dragapult, just being able to do 300 damage one turn when you want over the course of the game, I think I certainly when thinking about it, I think I would say yes. I would put one copy of this Mega Latias into a Charizard Dragapult deck. I got to imagine.
Yeah, I think it's good there. I think it's also good within Ho-Oh Armarouge
Mm.
where you're able to,
Yeah.
do something kind of similar. Then you wouldn't even necessarily be playing the Latios. And then also Latios is a card. That means you can get it powered up like in the late game in Charizard Dragapult as well. Kind of acting like something like Blood Moon Luna EX. And then also you have this could be used with you mentioned Crispin. You could use that turn one as well. You could Crispin
Yeah.
a to accelerate an energy, a fire or a psychic, and you attach one of those. Then you could like heal my Soaker Punny X or something, and then you could attack. That's like kind of awkward, but
Hmm.
I think it is doable, and I don't think it's actually that hard. And then of course you move the energy using the Latios here as well, which I think is like it's a little clunky, but I think it is very doable. I don't think it's something you're streaming all that often. It's actually pretty similar to Pikachu EX as well. Pikachu EX, I don't think it's bad. I say that Choltek Box is kind of bad, and I stand by that. But not like terrible, but just not like super strong. And then I don't think it's because Pikachu EX is bad though. I think Pikachu EX is pretty solid. And this is similar as well. It's easier to attack with. I think it doesn't have the ability, but it does have higher HP. And then also. Yeah, I think it's like a pretty solid card. I don't think it's amazing. I think it's pretty strong, honestly. It could be really good if it is like super turbo, super fast, and doing like really crazy damage really quickly. I honestly kind of compare it to Raging Bolt EX though, and Raging Bolt's very good, and this doesn't seem as good as Raging Bolt. I think.
Yeah, no, it's harder to set up than Raging Bolt, and of course you can't scale it to knock out the evolution Mega Pokemon or the Stage Two EXs. So that's a problem. It is probably worse than Pikachu EX. It's got more HP, 80 more HP, which is a plus. But Pikachu, of course, has that ability, so it doesn't get knocked out. It doesn't get one shot. The energy is a little easier to get powered up because one of them on the Latias because it's one of them's a colorless. So I think the energy typing is a little bit better. But yeah, it's tough as a three prize Pokemon. I agree about that. I think it's going in some type of box style deck. Probably, I don't think it's its own deck. And I do think with the Strafe though, you could have a box style deck that also has a walling component, right? You have this and you have Mimikyu. Even it's just as a couple cards you can chuck into almost any deck, right? And maybe that's part of the mix of some box style deck to kind of switch up the game as you're going along, right? So because your opponent has gusting, but the gusting they can only gust so many times. So strafing to the bench, and you can also send up Klefki or some, you can send up different type of walling things too, different types of disruption cards as well. So, I think the strafe is part of the plan with this card. I think if you're going with it myself.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's not again. It is a three prizer, so if your opponent does have Gust, it's like it's kind of bad. But it's interesting there. I think it's decent. We have one last card to talk about though, which is the Lily's Determination supporter card. The supporter says you shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw six cards. But if you have six prizes remaining, you draw eight cards instead. So I think this card's really good. I'm gonna just say that. I think it's like kind of. I think it's. Wouldn't say it's broken, but I'd definitely say it's overpowered. Like I don't think it's gonna be problematic for the game, but I think it's like kind of absurdly strong. So what are your thoughts on this card though?
Yeah, I mean, we had Cynthia's right a while ago that you shuffled your hand into your deck, draw six, which wasn't a bad card, and even expanded
No, it's a
now.
good card. It's a good card.
Yeah, good card. It was in theme decks, so it was like a great card in those decks, right? Because they didn't have good support cards. But even expanded now, research gets you one more card, right? For standard or expanded, obviously, it gets you seven. But a lot of times you don't want to discard cards, and for certain types of decks, I particularly don't want to discard. So shuffling in and drawing six, for some decks, is just better than discarding and drawing seven most of the time, anyway. And that's kind of what Iono does as well. But Iono quote disrupts your opponent. But honestly, a lot of times when I'm playing and I have an Iono in my hand, I'm also looking at my opponent half the time and I'm like, they haven't set up that well. I don't think they have a great hand based on what they've done these last two turns. I don't want to Iono, and I need to set up because I'm not setting up. But if I Iono, I think my opponent's gonna benefit too much from me. So a card like this, shuffle in, draw six. If it was just shuffle and draw six, I think I would play it in a lot of decks anyway. And now I get eight at the start of the game. It's a really, really good card, right? There's not many ways to get eight. So this is really, it's really strong.
Yeah, honestly, I think this might be this is kind of crazy, but it might be the strongest supporter ever. I'm actually not so familiar with some of the older ones. I don't actually know when the first supporter was, but regardless, so yeah, it's like really strong. It's shuffle draw eight because you were talking about setup, and it's shuffle draw eight when you're setting up.
Yeah.
And it's based on how many prizes you have remaining. If you can place in control, it's shuffle draw eight the entire game, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of like Colress, but like a really good Colress, which Colress is shuffle draw for each bench Pokemon both yours and your opponents, which could be really strong, but like eight is really good for that. And so yeah, this is just really strong draw. Ultimately, it's not super flashy. It's not a card that I don't think is. I don't know how much talk it's gonna get. I mean, I think it's like super strong. But again, I don't know how much talk it's gonna get. But I just looked at the older supporters and they forgot that they eroded supporters. So yeah, I don't know if this is actually the strongest supporter ever. I'm, as I said, not familiar with some of the older supporter cards, but it's very good, right? It allows you to set up very well. Shuffle Draw 8 is good. It doesn't search out, unlike Arvin. Arvin, still is good for setup, for getting specific things going. So it might
Yeah.
not be like a 4 in every deck, but it might be. I would not be shocked if it is. I think it's arguably stronger than Iono. It's less versatile, I guess. I mean, but it's good throughout the whole game. Shuffle Draw 6 late game is still really good. Because like you
Yeah.
can't Iono. I mean, you can Iono late game, but it's disruptive, not really drawing you that much.
Right, right. In late game, when you like you and your opponent both have two cards, and you're trying to get the knockout, you're like, if you're just drawing two cards, there's a good chance you're not going to get the two cards you need to close the game out. So, yeah, look, I think Iono got probably more attention than this will because even though I think this is a better draw than Iono, because Iono has a quote disruption aspect to it, which it does, but that I like I said, I think it's limited then because by the time you're disrupting your opponent, usually you don't have a lot of cards, a lot of prizes left either. Usually, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's in early game it's a good draw supporter, and late game
Yeah.
it's a good disruptive supporter, but early game is a bad disruptive supporter, late game is a bad draw supporter.
Yeah, so look, I think right now when this card comes out, I'm probably going to I'm going to play two Ionos, two Lily Determinations, two Research maybe as a base for decks, and then I decide what I add to and maybe subtract from it depending on the deck I need, right? Yeah, that might.
Maybe, yeah. But
So
I think Liz determination. I mean, it's drawing more cards than research, and you're also not losing your cards, which is
yeah,
generally like a lot better. Um, Getting rid of cards can be good for thinning, and obviously certain things need to discard. But I think it's kind of crazy.
yeah. So you think it's going to be a four of in a lot of decks? That's what you're thinking of. Like base thing is four Lily Determinations for starting a deck.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think it's kind of crazy. I think it is one. I think it is definitely the strongest card revealed here. Do you agree that it's the strongest card revealed here, or do you disagree?
No, it's going to see by far the most play. Obviously, more than the Pokemon, and the Pokemon that are revealed are okay, I think, but they're not tremendous. I think they're helping out some good decks is probably the biggest impact. I mean, Premium Power Pro, assuming we consider that revealed here, right? I will for this question. If there's like a really strong fighting deck and this makes it the top deck in format, you might have to say that's a stronger card. But right now, yeah, it's probably Lily's Determination. And I think, look, when we talk about, I bring up expanded sometimes. I think I'm putting this in my expanded decks too, right? When we have a choice of a lot of great supporters that we don't have in standard, I think I still want Lili's Determination in my deck. So that's a sign of how good it is as a supporter.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm checking how much Cynthia, if Cynthia's really played in expanded. I'm not as familiar. Oh, it's not. So it's not really played that much in expanded, but it is good. But I think it's still good. But like research has played Carmen has played some and stuff like that. And this is and Marnie's played. It's not like it's not absurd. The supporters in expanded are like strong. You want versatility, but it's still a very strong cross supporter. I was looking just at Richie Draco as well. I imagine it's different sports are played in different decks, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, regardless, I think it's going to be like kind of crazy in standard. I do think I don't know if it'll be a 4 of in every deck, but I think it'll be very good. But then now I think we should talk about a little bit about the mega evolutions in general and card design and stuff like that. Because a lot of people complain about three prizes. People complain
Yeah.
about three prizers. And I think some of it is valid, but I think people just like kind of complain about them because they hear other people complain about them, and then they just kind of echo that at times. So what are your thoughts on the design of the megas?
I think I was concerned. I still am concerned because I was glad that when three prizes rotated. Um, I particularly like. I think we've had three prizers. I think before this, right? We had the V unions, and the way they were designed, they weren't really very playable, right? They made it difficult on purpose, and it kind of made them not very good. So they probably went a little too far with that. Unless they're really a gimmick, I guess, right? So we can ignore those.
Yeah, they weren't in like regular packs or anything like that.
No, I think they're right. Just promos. I think the tag teams in some ways are the ones that I have the biggest issue with. Because if I'm correct, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you love to do that here. But I think the tag teams had they were basic Pokemon, and I believe they had the high HP in the game, right at the time. So I thought that was not.
Yeah, I mean the VMAXs came out after them, pretty shortly after, which did have higher HP. But I think the
Right.
tag teams kind of pushed the power level up like a lot, and they were stronger than the GXs they came out at the same time as them,
Yeah.
as well, which is like the other GXs, which was it was kind of problematic.
Right. The VMAXs had more HP, but at least they were an evolution, right? It was essentially a stage one Pokemon, so you couldn't start the game with it. When you could start the game at the tag team time with like a 270 HP Pokemon or something like that, it really just made it almost impossible for. Also, it just made it that all right, so the way to phrase it is these were the highest HP Pokemon in the game, so therefore the other attackers in the game weren't designed to hit that level of damage anyway. And now, as a basic Pokemon, you can get the highest HP Pokemon in the game. It just makes other decks really tough to function, right? I think it just drove a lot of stuff out of the game. So I think the tag teams being the highest HP, being basics, was a really bad thing. Now, one of the things with the GX, there were the regular GX Pokemon. There were a number of good supporters like the Dene GX as well as attackers. But among the tag teams, they were basically not support Pokemon, right? In fact, the GX mechanic was only an attack, so they were attackers. Whereas the VMAXs, some were support Pokemon, some were they had good abilities. Some of them, I guess. I don't know if they were support Pokemon.
I don't think any were really support Pokemon either.
No.
Actually, no, I think there's more tag team support Pokemon because there's one of your favorites, Lucario Melmetal, which is a support Pokemon, kind of, and then
Yeah.
one of my favorites, Arceus and then Palkia GX, which is also support
I
Pokemon.
yeah, in a different sort of way, right? And not a support Pokemon like Arceus V Star, right? That's getting you
Yeah, it's
cards or
just kind of
something.
different.
It's a little weird, but a support Pokemon like the VMAX, like the Shadow Rider VMAX, right? Which was good for for partly for its attack, but also its ability accelerated energy and drew you cards. So it had a good ability to go along with it. The tag teams didn't have things like that, I don't think, right?
Not really. There's a handful that had some utility-based abilities to like support you, but they weren't used that much. But I mean, like Shadow Rider didn't even see that much play. It was like really strong for like a pretty short period of time.
Yeah,
And then like what Rayquaza VMAX was used for its ability some, and there might be some I'm forgetting. Obviously Eternus had its support ability, but was the main attacker.
right.
You look at tag teams, and there's like Snivy and Venusaur, which like I think is the top utility tag team, which actually got an errata random thing. Doesn't really matter, but it got an errata, I'm pretty sure. But it was used for like its support ability. Some, I mean, its attacks aren't very good.
Right.
But yeah, ultimately, what's this attack even do? I was just reading it. I said it's actually bad and I forgot what it did. Yeah, so regardless, yeah, I want to see support on these megas, and it doesn't look like they're doing that so far. Because obviously there are EX Pokemon with support abilities. There's EX Pokemon in standard of all stages with support abilities. Of course, there's a lot of basics, with like Latias EX or Squawkabilly EX or Fezandipity EX. But then there's Enzork EX is a stage 1, which is a pretty solid support Pokemon, and Pidgeot EX is stage 2, which is a solid support Pokemon as well. Solid. I mean, they're pretty strong, right?
Yeah.
And that's fun to see. I like support Pokemon because most of your Pokemon in your deck are probably going to be support Pokemon. So you want as many Pokemon I think to be playable as possible, and so you need a lot of support Pokemon. I think Pokemon needs to print more of those. They could be like tech Pokemon as well. They could be utility attackers or something like that. But so far, most of them aren't. You mentioned that actually that's not exactly true. Latias EX, you mentioned Mega Latias EX can be like a tech package within like some decks. Mega Venusaur EX does have an
Right.
ability to support, though it's not like you probably have to build around it. And then the Mega Gardevoir EX is attack within Gardevoir EX, and the evolution Mega Evolution EXs specifically are cards that I believe, yeah, all of them have a regular EX as well, which is pretty cool. Meaning that they have split like final evolution lines, which is pretty cool. And they do add value like with the regular evolution EXs as well. So I think it's kind of cool there, giving them more utility and more reason to be played. Um, but I don't think they're absolutely like crazy in terms of the level of support. I like to see a little more.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. The Mega Venusaur has an ability,
Oh wait,
obviously.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Umbreon VMAX had to go to Billy. I forgot. I was just looking at the
Oh yeah.
Hariyama, and that's the same ability, and that was pretty solid.
Yes. Right. 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 Yeah. With the gusting. Yes. So that was good. There was the one. There's the grass Pokemon that like put damage counters with the active. Right. I think I remember you messed around with
Oh,
that.
but that was mostly an attacker, and Umbreon did
Yeah.
attack generally when it was played. Oh, and Teleon VMAX as well. I forgot about that one.
Hmm.
So there's a
Yeah.
handful, but there's not that many.
Right. So those are the attackers. We have 4 megas right now. There's going to be a lot more we're getting. One of them does have an ability that could be used to help other Pokemon as well. So it could be a support ability as such. But yeah, since it's grass energies only, it's a deck that's focused around it. What we've seen in terms of Mike, I don't want to see the basics be super huge HP, and I think we're okay with that. I think the Mega Latias EX at 280. We already have. Yes, there's one basic EX with 280, but basically they're not. But we're used to stage ones for a long time that are at 280. So our decks are designed to hit 280. So a basic that's at 280, I think, is okay for the game, and it gives up an extra prize. So I think that's fair. So that part I'm okay with. In terms of the HP levels, it's gone. The Mega Latias is 70 more HP than the basic Latias EX. The Mega Lucario, the stage 1, is 80 more HP, went from 260 to 340. And then the two stage 2s, which have the highest HP numbers at 360 and 380, but they only go up 50 HP and then 40 HP to go from 340 to 380. So it looks like they're squeezing in maybe at the 400 as the ceiling, or maybe they're just trying to keep it just below that, I think is what where they're looking at. So if 3 prizes are like approaching 400 HP, that's probably a fair place to be, because that's one of the concerns, right? Is to me is these really high HP Pokemon make the lower HP, especially single prize Pokemon, which are always tough to play anyway, just make them even harder, right? Like the V Maxes kind of made single prize decks almost unplayable. I felt like, right? The tag teams
I
kind of
guess
did.
I think the tag teams did as well. I mean,
Yes.
ADP ultimately is a Pokemon that's just pretty bad for them. And the reason that single prize Pokemon are bad against them, obviously their stats are worse, but they give up less prizes. But then the multi-prize decks need less like resource commitment to be able to
Hmm.
use them, and Pokemon doesn't like always account for that. So yeah, that's partial. That's really the main reason why they are stronger. You to be, the single prize deck needs to be pumping a lot of resources, multiple
Yeah.
Pokemon, and powering up multiple Pokemon, and making deck slots for that and recovering stuff, which the Mega wouldn't. Like Mega Venusaur EX is aimed to tank a lot and stuff, so that could be pretty annoying for single prizers. Honestly, like single prizers, people often point to three prizers as the reason single prizers are bad, but really since two prizers have been prominent in the game, single prizers have been bad.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's three prizers' fault. And adding three prizes is fun as well because you mentioned the prize mapping, you mentioned a little bit, and it changes things and it's kind of cool. Enables some interesting things. Sometimes they are annoying, but most of the time I think they're pretty cool. The price mapping situations, and we also saw the VMAXs were very strong when they came out, but they were bad when they rotated, right?
Yeah.
When with like Regilucky VMAX, I think being the best, the ones that rotated last, and the rest were pretty bad. I mean, Regilucky VMAX didn't even see that much play when it rotated. So ultimately, they were they got kind of faded out of the game. So Pokemon kind of knows how to deal with three prizes. I think if they want to, make it more prominent, they can do that by just making them super strong. But I don't think that's what they're doing here. I think they're balanced. I think they're honestly kind of weak. I don't think they're super strong. I think we've kind of talked about it, and they have some place within the game, and we'll see some play. But I don't think right now none of them are crazy. But also I think like a three prize support Pokemon, like if there's a Mega Squawkabilly EX or something like that, that'd also be cool. I see a Pokemon that has a really powerful draw ability or something like that, but then is a big liability on your bench as well. I like to see cards like that. Um, Stuff like Pheasantipede, though that's not that big of a liability. Lumineon V, Dedenne GX, Crobat V, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think what they're doing is fair. We will, assuming we get multiple sets of megas, and I assume we will, then we'll get. Usually, you get better cards as in later sets, right? That's the trend. So I think,
Yeah.
and I don't know how long we'll get megas for, right? Because are we getting like a year and a half of megas, or just the rest of this calendar year? I don't know the thoughts there, and I don't know how much people know about that. To me, I just had a thought: what if they reprinted the Dene GX with its ability, right? You discard your hand, draw six, but put it on, keep it at 160, make it three prizes. Could we do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dedenne wasn't like super overpowered. I mean, it was very strong. I mean, actually, it was pretty overpowered, but I don't think it like
Well,
hurt the game.
it would be bad
Um,
to. I think it'd be bad to reprint it today, right? As it was, right? As
I
just a
don't know. I think
basic
it was all
EX.
right. I think it was fine. Also, it's not as good without Nestball or with Nestball without like
That
something like Quick Ball.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to see. I think we both like to see a little bit of support Pokemon with the EXs. What you'd like to do ideally is wait till late game to put your EX in when your opponent's down to one or two prizes, then put this three prize beast up there for your opponent to deal with. Right? That's the ideal situation. None of these Pokemon I think are really fitting in that category. Um, is something, but there'll probably be something at some point that does that. Although if you're playing Gardevoir, right, the Mega Gardevoir, once your opponent's in the late game, prize wise, I think then you can probably get that into play. So that deck may have that option right now with the current cards, but I think there'll be some more things down the road that fit into making the prize map tough on your opponents.
Yeah, but I'm excited. Are you excited? I have positive vibes about this. Do you, or are you
I
like
think
sad
I'm
and nervous?
Well, look, when it first was announced, I was negative. I was like, this is just awful, honestly. So I've moved up to at least neutral. I think I'm even slightly positive, which for me is a lot of improvement. So I think slightly positive is very good for me at this moment.
Yeah, I'd say I'm where I was when I was real excited, but also a little nervous that they won't be super meaningful. But that's not bad either, right? But anyways, yeah, the Mega Pokemon are pretty cool. The new cards are pretty cool as well. Looking forward to these cards that they will be out not very soon, right? But it's cool. It's a new block. It's kind of like a new block, but it's also not completely a new block because these are still EXs. I imagine we'll see regular EXs. I guess there's a chance we don't see any regular EXs, but that seems kind of crazy to me. There could be some other new mechanic, though. I don't think so. But we hope you enjoyed the podcast. Consider subscribing to our YouTube channels, 10 Types and Uncommon Fossil. You could also check us out on podcasting platforms if that's where you'd rather listen to us. But we hope you enjoyed. And as always, we're excited to see you in the next episode.
Take care.